everybody, Mike Pfeiffer with Pfeiffer Hobby Supply, and today we're going to do update 25 on the ACT3, and I hope you stay tuned and I hope you enjoy what you see. Okay everybody, the first thing I'm going to show you is the last thing I've done. I of course made sure all this track worked, and I've got the initial scenery in around the roundhouse, and also back there into the tunnel I've got a little bit of ballast in there. I got ballast coming down here. When all this stuff dries, then I've got to go in and blacken it, and of course it's still soaking wet, so it looks awful bright, and it doesn't really match up to the back scenery perfectly yet. But when it's all dry, we'll touch it all up, we'll vacuum off all the excess, and that is pretty much what you'll have. There's a lot of junk and stuff that I'm going to put, detail stuff that I'm going to put around the roundhouse and in that area, but we're not even close to being there yet. In just a minute I'll show you something else I need to add. I think I've mentioned it in the other videos, but I haven't done it yet. In fact, let's go look at that now. Okay gang, this is a bag of some chamisa, some different grasses, and other things. What we plan on doing with this is breaking it up and using this, as I had mentioned before, the deadfall in the forest area over here. Haven't gotten to it yet, but I will, and when I do, it'll just be a simple matter of dropping a little bit of glue on it wherever I pile the stuff up, and trying to get it to stay in place. And if it doesn't, or I vacuum later and it vacuums it up, I just put some more out there. But anyway, it makes good deadfall, and it'll add a bunch to the scene. But that's what I wanted to show you. I've got it all ready to go, I just haven't put it in yet. I know I'm slow. Now we're going to go around and just show you the couple other things that I've done here recently. Okay, what I wanted, one of the things I wanted to show you all is I came in and I cut that mountain down, and I think you'll remember it being a very dark brown. I've lightened it up, and you can see that's painted on the backdrop, and this is painted on the masonite, and then there's some painted on the backdrop back there. So you can see how it kind of gives a 3D effect, which I like. And I like the size of that hill. That's where it's going to stay. That's the color it's going to stay. Now over here I've darkened up a little bit of the green. I still think it's way too green. I'm going to figure out a way to tone that down. I've put a black wash on it and tried to tone it down that way. Back in there, what we're going to do is we're going to cut out a little piece of a paper backdrop. May even cut something out of a magazine or print something off of Google and glue it in back there in that crotch. At least that's the game plan right now, but I don't really see any reason at this time why I would need to pull the lake back out. So I think I'm just going to leave it set, and I may start doing some more scenery off the lake, like coming down here and finishing off digging the ditch for the river, which this one is extremely too deep. But nevertheless, dig it back and then finish that little bitty corner back in there of scenery. I'm also going to patch those holes, I've decided, in the backdrop, and I am going to do my best to touch them up and cover them up. If my best isn't good enough, tough beans. I'm not gonna tear everything out to redo the whole backdrop. But anyway, I should be able to touch them up in some kind of manner to my liking. Now I'm going to show you what else I have done, which has eaten up a bunch of time. Okay, I'm sure that most of you have seen the video of Gavin and I running some trains out here. Gavin has a bunch of cars out here in the yard. I told him to bring some cars out and do some switching just from point to point and around the block, just to see how many cars fit in there, how it was maneuvering trains around. But when he and I were running on the main line, we discovered one thing right away. And that is, it's not the way to build your layout to put that turnout where you see that little white post way down there on switch position number 1 in the DCC, and the opposite end of it to be number 1 also. It sounds like a good idea in theory, but when we started running trains opposed, it became a real issue, because one of us could not run in one end or the other of this without fouling the other end of the siding. So, that being said, what I've done is taken all my 3 mainline sidings and split them up. You now see that this end is number 2. The switch at the far end down there is number 1. Number 3 for the end of that one. Number 4 way down there, and so on. So every switch, whether it be on one end or the other of any of the sidings, all have their own number now. As well as the double crossovers have their own number on each end. This is a little bit of explaining. Let me get over here and explain. You can see that that switch up there is 5, which is a mainline switch onto the siding here. And the other end of that is actually the double crossover down there, which is number 6. And then on the back side behind me here, I won't take you over there, is number 7 going into the mine, and then number 8 is somewhere. 8 is one end of this reverse loop, 9 is the other end, 10 is, sorry for jerking you around in the camera here, but 10 is the siding going into that industry. 11 will be the switch going to that industry, whatever that winds up being. Then we come up here and we get to 12. Okay, 12 is a nice even number for 3 DS64s to individually number the turnouts. Now, I have mounted all the DS64s underneath, and one of them, or the next one in succession that I've already programmed, was way down at the left-hand side of where it needed to be. So instead of reprogramming that one, it was already programmed for a switch 18. So we jumped from 12 to 18, but I think if people can read, that won't be a problem. Let's see here. What else can I tell you today? I'll take you underneath and just show you the configuration of the DS64s once again. It's not very exciting, but we'll go there before we leave today. Okay, here we are underneath. I have a couple of wires, well, not a couple, there's a couple million there that I need to dress up since I've moved. These are all push button switches. I had them all down on these two, had to add this one, move all of these down to there so that it opened up slots in my numerically in order 101, 102, 103, because I already, like I say, I already had the slots in them programmed for 1 through 12. So we've got 1 through 12. And then to get to the next one, after I had moved all the stuff down to these over here, was in 105 over there, way over there. So, therefore, we have switch number 18. I know that maybe it makes sense, maybe it doesn't make sense. It doesn't really matter. It works. All the push buttons work. I will say one thing. If you do the method that I showed here on the push buttons, since I'm down here, it reminded me. Heavy-handed Gavin pushed one of these out when he was pushing on the switches when we were switching. So be sure and put plenty of hot glue on the back side. You may put hot glue on there, get them in place, and then go back later and put a gob of hot glue on. Just so you don't get a heavy-handed person in there pushing them out the layout. That's just another tip. Let me see here. I won't make you endure me getting up from the floor here, but I'm going to show you one other thing. Okay, I have 2 little additions to the train room. I know it's not train related, but they're additions to the room. Robin went to the landscaping nursery the other day. She walked in and this guy was on the floor, laying on the floor, and she just said to herself that I couldn't live without that, and she's right. And he's pretty good size. You can see by the size of my hand. Anyway, he's cool. I touched him up a little bit. They had some green paint on him and stuff that didn't make sense. And I fixed up his paint job. Most of it's like it came, but covered over some stuff. Now, the other one, let me get a stool so I can actually show you it properly. Okay, I know that a lot of my viewers are not race car fans, and that's okay. I have been all my life. I was up in Albuquerque at a thrift store, and I happened to see this laying, and the guy had it for 15 bucks, and they had it on sale for 10 bucks. I bought it, and it turns out that this drawing of Bobby Unser's Rizlone winning IndyCar was hand-drawn by the gentleman that you see that signed the picture. And on the back is an explanation of the car and his interpretation or drawing of the car and stuff when it was commissioned to be done by him for a gentleman in Albuquerque. How it wound up in a thrift store, I don't know. I think it's a pretty cool drawing. I think it's pretty well done, and I think it's pretty accurate. But I couldn't pass it up for 10 bucks. I just think it's really cool, and I guess more to the story is that Al Unser Jr., well, they're all from Albuquerque. Of course, I think everybody knows the Unsers are from Albuquerque. But Al Unser Jr. and I were racing at the same time in Albuquerque. He was racing go-karts, I was racing motorcycles. But we certainly knew of each other at the time. Maybe not directly, but we knew of each other, knew what we were doing. But anyway, so I've always kind of felt an attachment to the Unser family. You all have probably seen the video that I did on the Unser Museum. But anyway, that's the other addition in the train room here. And really, that's about all I got for you this time around. So we'll keep this one a little bit short, I hope. And we'll let you go today. Well, everybody, I hope you enjoyed 25. And I guess, as usual, whoa, thanks for watching. The Dirty Finger with grass stuck to it. Wonder why that would be.